Good morning and welcome to my presentation for my AP Community of Practice. Our COP is made up of advanced placement teachers from across disciplines. In developing our problem of practice, we noticed that students had inconsistent performance on free response items for AP exams. We believed that we had similar cohorts of students, and this performance on the free response items was affecting the consistency of the overall AP exam scores, which was also affecting the students' ability to receive college credit for the courses. In looking at free response scoring patterns over the past 5 years through the instructional planning reports provided by College Board, we identified this problem. In developing our research question, we decided that we should look at what strategies should be consistently implemented in order to ensure the most student success on AP free response questions. What led us to that question was researching our school data, researching the importance of consistency in implementation of any strategies, and then also looking at some particular writing strategies. In examining this research question, we've used a variety of macro and micro data. The initial data painted a fairly clear picture of why we wanted to examine this research question. For some classes, students had multiple choice scores of above the global average, but might have free response scores below the global average, or their overall scores might have been higher than the global average, but we saw less difference between our scores and the global average when it came to the free response questions. Students were simply not doing as consistently well on free response as they were on multiple choice portions of those AP exams. We needed to examine why students were appearing to retain the information and able to perform on multiple choice, but were not able to perform as consistently well in showing that acquisition of that knowledge on the free response questions. After collecting that initial data, we decided to proceed with looking at EVOS predictions. Although these predictor scores do not look exactly like end of course tests and the like, we decided that there was still some information that could be useful that we could glean from those reports. So that was one of the first things we examined. We also looked at free response question rubric language, which has begun to be more consistent from exam to exam through the College Board. We looked at formative and summative assessment data, and after we were out for COVID, we decided that we also would like to look at engagement percentages. In examining the EVOS data, we pulled the rosters for each one of our classes. We divided the students into tiers and we charted those tiers for each class. For the rubrics, we charted common language. For the assessment scores, we did some teacher calibration and scoring exercises. And for engagement, we're looking at the percentage of assignments that were attempted by students while we've been out. And then in July, we will be able to see some results from this year's AP exam scores. The change in exams this year certainly threw our COP for a loop, but the good thing is that on this year's exam, the questions were solely free response. We were really glad that we decided to focus on that. And we believe that even though this is an odd year and it won't be directly comparable to previous or future years, there will still be some valuable information that we can get out of student performance on this year's exam. We looked at a variety of research to inform the data collection that we did, including the chief reader reports from various AP exams and research articles that were done on using certain strategies in AP courses. As we started to go beyond how our students had done last year on the AP exam and look at this year's students, some of the most interesting findings were that there was a bigger difference in the predictor scores than we thought that there was going to be. In some courses, almost 3/4 of the students had a 70% chance or higher of getting a 3 on the exam, whereas in other courses, that number was more like only 10% of the students. In doing research on strategies to reach all of these students, we settled on 3 main strategies: mnemonics, concept mapping, and prompt deconstruction. Unfortunately, we were interrupted by COVID-19 before we could do much data collection here in the second semester. The strategy that we were able to implement the most before we were out was the mnemonic strategy. All of the teachers in our COP were able to implement a version of this strategy, Most were able to make anchor charts and do activities with their students so that this would be a consistent strategy that all students were familiar with. After implementing this strategy, most of our teachers saw growth in formal and informal assessment of student learning. Unfortunately, shortly after implementation, school was out, so we don't have as much formal data as we'd like to have for results and comparisons, but we will have that free response data for comparison to EVOS predictors versus actual scores in July. For us, some next steps will be to compare data, to regroup, to implement more strategies, and to do additional research. We're especially excited about comparing the data of the EVOS predictions to the actual scores of the students in July, and we're also excited to see how the engagement data works into that equation. If there are any questions that you might have, you can email me at hutchia@pitt.k12.nc.us. Thank you.